Hi friends, welcome back or welcome if you're new here. My name is Mali. In today's video, we're going to be talking all things autumn books. I'm coming to you live from a very gloomy yet hot September afternoon. If you're like me, autumn is one of your favorite seasons to imagine. And you might be thinking, what do you mean by imagine? Isn't autumn a real concept and thing? Yes, it is, but not when you live in the Caribbean. Always hot and humid here, so autumn is just an essence and a vibe to me. So if you're like me and you live in a place where seasons are not a thing and it's always hot, then you're welcome to watch this video. I have 10 books plus one bonus book that will bring some of that autumn chill into our lives. So I'm first going to talk about all the books I recommend for this very cozy season, and then we're going to talk about all the books that I want to read during this autumn. I am not going to go too crazy with my own TBR because I have so many books that I want to get to before the end of the year, and so I don't want to overwhelm myself. The first two books I'm going to recommend fit that dark academia subgenre that is so wildly popular during this time. And I'm just going to get out of the way because the very first book that I will recommend, and one that is one of my all-time favorites, The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Now, I know you get a lot of people telling you to read this book, but allow me to be just one more voice telling you to read this one. It's got an academic setting, a murder, secret society and clubs, ancient Greek rituals, an eccentric professor, and even weirder student. There's betrayal and innocence lost. The prose in this is so rich and full of details as you fully get immersed into the underbelly of the college where the uber rich and the lower class mix. There's chaos and paranoia. The Secret History is literally the blueprint for every other dark academia book published after the 90s. It's a modern classic and you just have to read it this autumn season. I promise you that it's so good. I first read this back all the way in 2016 and I've been forever changed. Another book that I want to recommend in this category is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is yet another book that completely changed my life. This is set in a boarding school, and from the very beginning, the students know that they're different. They're not allowed to leave the school until they're adults, and that's when they will fulfill their destiny as donors. Our main character is Kathy, and she's one of the students at this boarding school named Helsham. And the book sort of follows her life as a student and then as an adult as a donor. The narrative slowly puts into place the mysteries of the boarding school and what being a donor fully means. We never know any more than Kathy does, and the world building is just so eerie and it unravels beautifully. It's haunting and emotional. This pulls a little bit from the science fiction genre. There's a dystopian feel to this, a bit of romance, and it all comes together in the end quite beautifully. This will pull at your heartstrings. This next book is one that I couldn't really categorize into any of my subgenres, and so it's all alone in the fiction genre. But I personally really adored this book. I read it sometime last year in December. I know that's technically winter, but going back to the no seasons thing, September to December feels the same here. And the book I'm talking about is called Writers and Lovers by Lily King. In this one, we follow Casey. She's a 30-year-old woman. She is grieving the loss of her mother while trying to write a novel and juggling her part-time job as a waitress. Now, I think the reason why I find this an autumnal cozy book is because it's a comfort read to me, and it's kind of crazy for me to say that because it does deal with heavy topics like grief. But I just related so much to Casey. I saw so much of myself in her, and I really like that despite its dark tone, because poor Casey does go through it. It does have a simple yet inspiring ending. This is one of those rare literary fiction books that doesn't end in a bleak tone as we see Casey rise up to the challenges in her life. But yeah, I am fully projecting because I don't think a lot of people will find this cozy, but I just want an excuse to talk about this book. Okay, sue me. This next book is a ghost story and a love story, and I'm talking about Briefly a Delicious Life by Nell Stevens. The setting of this one is the 1800s, Mallorca, Spain, and a previously abandoned monastery that for the previous years it has served as the hunting ground for the perpetually 14-year-old Blanca. One day, the French novelist Georges Sand moves in. She's a free-spirited woman, and Blanca is in love with her. But because she's a ghost, George can't really see her. This is a heartbreaking love story as Blanca's love goes unrequited, yet at the same time it's such a tender novel. Blanca as a character is also so funny because of course she does get up to some mischief as a ghost. She trolls a particular character that I found very annoying. It's funny, it's atmospheric, and just perfect to snuggle up with. I have sweet memories of snuggling up with this one during a gloomy autumn morning last year. This next one is a Polish mystery novel, and that's Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk. This has an old woman solving crimes with some deers as her sidekick. What more could you possibly want? After a neighbor has turned up dead, Janina, our main character, has an idea of who is responsible, but no one is really paying her any attention. She's seen as a weirdo, and in fact she is exactly that. She spends her days studying astrology and speaking to the animals in the forest. The plot begins to thicken once more people turn up dead, and Janina decides to insert herself into the investigation. If you're looking for a mystery that's more of character driven, I think this is absolutely perfect for you. The House Guest by Amparo Davila is a short story collection. Do not read this at night, and much less with the lights turned off. I think I am due a reread though, because I'm trying to sit here and remember at least one short story for you guys, and I can't. I remember that in most of the stories there is a looming figure in the background of most of these stories. These all feel so nightmarish. It gave me a little bit of paranoia reading this. The last couple of books that I really want to recommend to you all fit the dystopian subgenre, and I've been loving this type of book recently. So if you have any recommendations for me, please leave them down below. I think this subgenre is so fitting for autumn because they can be a bit fantastical yet bleak. And the very first book in this stack is Private Rights by Julia Armfield. I recently read this and I adored it. Three sisters live in a world that is perpetually raining, and because of that, the city is rapidly going underwater. Cities are now full of skyscrapers. In order to escape the rising waters, there's constant power outages, and seeing the sun is a rare occurrence. I've seen the words mundane apocalypse when describing Private Rights, and it literally could not be any more true. The atmosphere is dark and damp, yet the three sisters are trying to move forward with their lives and make the best out of their situation. For the ultimate vibes, you should definitely read this during a very rainy, thundering, lightning storm type of autumn, okay? I have yet another short story collection, and that is Little Eyes by Samantha Schweblin. This features a series of interconnected stories in which they are Kentuckys, and they look like evil Furbies. In the book, you can sign up to either be an owner and have an adorable little pet following you around, or you can choose to control these Kentuckys, because every one of these have like cameras for eyes, and as you can guess, given just about anybody the opportunity to look into your private life, gets real bad real fast. This literally reads like a Black Mirror episode if you're into that. I also very vaguely remember a story in which a Kentucky was linked to a trafficking ring. So proceed with caution because they do get quite dark. I also want to recommend Everything You Ever Wanted by Luisa Salma. I read this one all the way back in 2022, and I still think about it to this day. In this one, we follow lost 20-something-year-old Iris. Nothing in her life fulfills her, not her family, her boyfriend, and much less her job. And so when she hears about this reality TV show called Life on Next, she decides to take it as a chance to start her life anew, and so she signs up for the program. even if that means that she can't ever come back and she must leave everything and everyone behind. At first, life on Nyx seems to be a paradise, but of course, the dream of living in a planet unfit for human life quickly falls apart. Talking about this book is making me want to reread this, but I remember how much of an emotional wreck I was after reading this, and it was not particularly sad, but there's something just pulled at my heartstrings. You can't talk dystopian without I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. This is undoubtedly the dystopian book of the century. In this one, we follow the youngest of some 40 women who have been behind bars for as long as they can remember. They're not exactly sure why they're there, but the memories of a life before bars keep them going. The youngest of them all, though, was born in that incarceration, and so she doesn't know any better than her current situation. One day, an alarm sounds off, and the women actually manage to escape in the commotion, and they leave behind their bunkers that they have known for the past like 20 years. But the world above the bunkers isn't any better, and in fact, the women are not even sure that they're still on planet Earth. This is a book that will not answer any of the questions that you may have as a reader. It focuses instead on asking you, what is humanity? What does being a human mean? I physically could not put down this book despite being a huge ball of anxiety and sadness while reading. I felt so much for this poor woman who had nothing but each other. And the ending of this book, oh my god, emotional damage. To end the recommendation part of this video, I'm going to be recommending a bonus book. And it's a bonus book because I don't have it physically on hand with me, and that is Monstrillo by Geraldo Samano Cordova. This is a literary horror in which a woman carves out a piece of her son's lung after his death. She then feeds that lung, which makes it grow into a little monster, which they so affectionately call Monstrillo. Years later, Monstrillo looks and acts like a human, but deep down, he's still that monster that he was. This is such a layered exploration of grief with a fantastic touch of queer horror. I don't really enjoy senseless gore, but I so loved this one because it had a little extra something, and in my opinion, it was done brilliantly. Alright, so that is all the books that I recommend for autumn. I hope you got a book or two out of this list. I'm definitely looking forward to updating this list as time goes on. And now we're going to move on to my autumn TBR. I have 6 books here that I really want to read this autumn season, with the very first one being Perfume by Patrick Susskind. I recently talked about this book in my end of year TBR, so I'm not going to get into it too much because I don't want to repeat myself. I am also somehow in a very big classics mood, and I want to get through as many as possible before that mood disappears. In this one, we follow a perfumer who's quite famous in Paris, and he gets obsessed with bottling up the smell of a particular girl, and so he murders her. And I don't know about you, but that sounds really dark and perfect for autumn, so I'm really excited to get to this one. Next, I have The Haunting of Hill House. I first read this one so many years ago, and I really want to reread this. Reason being is I don't remember anything. I don't even particularly remember liking this one, but I'm curious to revisit it and see if I want to keep this one in my collection or not. Okay, so continuing on with my inclination to classics at the moment, I also have La Casa de los Espíritus, or The House of Spirits by Isabel Allende. This is yet another book that I featured in my end of year TBR. I am so excited yet so nervous to read this because it is a chonker. A good like 500 pages in here. It does sound like I'm really going to enjoy this. I just have to get over my big book fear. It has micro realism elements. It's a family saga there's ghosts. It sounds perfect for autumn, and I am quite familiar with Allende's work. I have read her growing up. Such a prolific author, and I'm shocked that I haven't gotten to this one yet. I'm repeating myself, but if it's 2025 and I haven't read this yet, jail time for me. Bad Cree by Jessica Johns. All I know about this one is that a girl wakes up with a severed crow's head in her hands. She's plagued by memories of her dead sister, and I think someone is stalking her. I have two books here by the same author, Mariana Enriquez. I really want to make this a Mariana Enriquez autumn because I have three of her books now and I've never read her. The very first book that I want to read is Our Share of Night. I don't know much about this one except that it's a book about a cult who will do just about anything to gain immortality. There's themes of grief, family, the occult, and it just sounds like such a good time. I am pretty intimidated though because of the size, but I think I just have to start it like at the beginning of a month and just take my time with it and read it for a complete 30 days, because if not, I will never get to this one. And then finally, I also have A Sunny Place for Shady People. This is Mariana Enriquez's latest release, and I'm so gagged that I got an art copy. This is a short story collection, and it's said to be full of her trademark horror, the surreal, and the supernatural. There's 12 stories here in total, and I'm just super excited to get into her work. She's extremely renowned in the horror genre, and I just want to get into the hype train. So this is going to be Mariana Enriquez autumn. Okay guys, so that's all from me. I hope you guys got a recommendation or two from this video. I'm so excited for this autumn season. I have so many videos planned and just so many books I want to read this autumn season. If you got this far into the video, comment any autumn emoji or a candle emoji, since have candles here. And if I shared any book that you really love, please let me know, especially any books in my TBR that I should definitely prioritize. And thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all so much. Bye.